Hey everybody, Crypto Mentor 99, how you doing? It is the evening of March the 12th and back by popular demand, Val from LocalCoinSwap. He's the Chief Marketing Officer and the Chief Spiritual Officer. And for those of you that follow my channel, I talked to Tom Underwood, who's the Chief Financial Officer, and Nathan Worsley, the Chief Technical Officer. And Nathan's like, oh, you got to talk to Val. So Val and I had a phone call about a week ago, and we said, hey, let's do a Skype call on LocalCoinSwap. So Val, so nice to see you in person.
John, it's great to be here. I mean, virtually to be here and talk to you. It's amazing, and really thank you for this opportunity. And it's really a pleasure to talk to you. I love your work. I love what you do.
Thank you. So I kind of said the same thing to Tom and Nathan, and we'll start off, Val, this question with you. If someone's watching the video now that maybe they're not that interested in cryptocurrencies, or they're not really, sure of it, what would you like them to know on a basic level about LocalCoinSwap? Like, what is it? What is it?
So it's quite simple, right? Let's start breaking down to its four parts. LocalCoinSwap is all about accessibility, inclusiveness, and decentralization of the most important part, meaning the profits. That's it. And we can sort of talk about it more, where the whole idea of LocalCoinSwap in terms of accessibility is about making it truly accessible for all. For example, my mom yesterday invested. Fantastic. Like, I'm so proud, but not like, oh, I want to support you. She understands it. She believes that blockchain and cryptos are part of our future inherently. And there's so many people like that. Even my older brother, he has 2 master's degrees, and I said, did you invest in something? He's like, yeah, it's so difficult, they want this and that. And you get this like physical, non-verbal communication that's like negative and shrugging. He's capable, but yet it's not that smooth. So with LocalCoinSwap, we want to basically offer, sort of open the doors to all these kind of people, and of course of people who are in certain geographical areas that don't have access to exchanges, that just don't have access to these new opportunities. And I think that's incredibly important. Like, I think Nathan mentioned, like, we're not sending rockets or new satellites into orbit. Our concept is simple, but I think it's so important in general, like for the people, but also for the mainstreaming of blockchain conceptualization and ownership of cryptocurrencies. And of course, that other one, the inclusiveness, we also look around and we've said, this is, something is off. We have this blockchain, it's all about decentralization, and yet people become billionaires overnight. And, no disrespect, it's great for them. But at the end of the day, who creates the value? It is the people. It is the community, the people who are using it. So we said, let's use the decentralization aspect at its core and sort of make a real statement, a real exemplification of what it can do, and saying we're going to share the profits. Yeah. And of course, that's not just, I'm not going to be very diplomatic here. It's not just like, oh, we're all hippies, I want to share. It's also a smart business idea, because when you do that, all of these people are shareholders, they're co-owners, and they become active. There is an inclusive vibe. I think you are in our Telegram group. People are just getting into it. People are making T-shirts out of their own initiative. They say, hey, Val, send me the logo and the color font scheme. And that's amazing. And this is exactly what we want to sort of bring forward and achieve and bring to success, where we open the gates.
Sure.
Yeah. Share in the wealth created from it, and at the same time use the power of the crowd, the crowdsourcing concept, to make it bigger, smarter, nicer, and obviously have fun, because this concept is a little bit different than stepping on other people's heads to grow. We're gonna grow together organically. We're gonna evolve into something else instead of revolt or try to make money quickly or play the lottery, so to speak.
Sure.
I think that's my take on it. Obviously, there's so many different perspectives.
Sure. Oh, that's good.
Extensively, but this is my 2 cents, and for people without a technical background, that's what I would say.
Okay. And now let me ask you a question to speak to the people that are listening that are investors and they want to get to we say in the United States, they want to get to the nitty gritty. So talk to a medium or an advanced investor that may be listening about how you share the profits and the co-ownership. Like what should they be sort of kind of expecting for their return on investment, maybe, let's say?
Look, John, I'm smarter than I look like, because the first part is perfect sort of foundation for the second answer. Look, the part that I described is crucially important, because we're talking here about every investor, every person, every fan is an ambassador, is a value additioner, is creating sort of value for the coin. And that's a huge thing. So obviously, a peer-to-peer marketplace, what's the most important thing? It's volume, right? I mean, to make profit, obviously, we need to create a solid product, completely, secure, waterproof, very user-friendly, and then I'm coming back to these accessibility
Sure.
concepts and whatnot. But at the end of the day, all these things are in function to have proper volume so that we can generate profit for our investors, for our members, right? And how do you do that? What is the best way to generate value? It's about trust, accessibility, well-knownness, right? And it's word of mouth. It is word of mouth. And when we say we want to create access for people who are not into crypto, what actually that means for sort of an investor or an economic mind, basically we're saying is we're going to expand the market and try to absorb as much as possible of that new market share into us. Yes, we will probably sort of poach away existing traders for sure, and we will have our core value creation and trading volume.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the real juiciness is going to come from this new volume, the volume that hasn't been touched by anybody else. And I think with our model of inclusiveness and sort of democratization of voting, it will create a lot of loyalty. So we will not only sort of be able to achieve higher returns, and I will get to numbers, I'm sure you want to hear some numbers, but at the same time, make it sort of structurally sound and not only recurrent, but make it grow over time in a solid business model as well. And to give you some numbers, I myself, what I do, because I'm not Harry Potter, and I have a PhD in commodity futures markets, and forecasting is my expertise, but still I'm not going to do it in detail, because it's we like to promise and outperform. That's it. But if you would like to know, I would recommend go to a small exchange, a traditional exchange, look at their values, the amount of coins, and I think we can for sure sort of come to that level relatively fast and relatively smoothly. And if you want an exact, I like to look at BTC markets. As an Australian small exchange, Australia is a relatively small country, population size, and that will give you, and have a look at their volumes. I think right now markets are a bit slow. It's 3,000 or 4,000 Ether a day. You can sort of calculate it to a year, and they have Bitcoin. They have around 10 coins as well, maybe a bit less. So that will be a really good proxy that I personally use where I start to calculate my wealth in the future as one of the owners of crypto shares.
Sure.
Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
No, it's good. So tell us a little bit, and for those of you at home, when I bring out the white paper that I mean business, because I read the whole thing really several times, and I honestly don't know the answer to this. I'm a little bit embarrassed that I don't know the answer, but tell us, because I'm an investor in LocalCoinSwap, tell us about, like, what's the next mile marker for the roadmap? Like, what are we doing next month, in 2 months? Like, what?
Okay, so look, I don't have it next to me, but I will tell you plainly how things play behind the scenes,
Sure.
Right? Openly. Right now, all hands on deck, pre-sale starts in a few days. March 15, we got to be ready, working overtime. I think the technical guys are doing 14 hours a day. That's the main thing. At the same time, right after the ICO starts, April 15, mid-April, okay, it's going to be running until June. In parallel, of course, because this is the game of parallel action, we are already looking to submit the LocalCoinSwap LCS tokens to other exchanges so that people also can trade easily. New people come in, people maybe want to, sort of cash in on their investment or whatnot. So that's an important factor. We have a list of 160 exchanges. So now we're looking at which ones are most compatible for us, are big enough and known enough to some volume. And soon we're going to start applying to a select few, a prioritization of it. Okay. Another thing is our MVP. Everybody's asking about it. I think we could have made a nice video of the front end and said this is it, but the team is working very, very hard to have a product ready in August. Obviously, it would be fantastic if we could show you guys something before that, or maybe even more fantastic to be ready sooner. But again, we like to promise and outperform, or at least meet our promises. So those things are like sort of on top of the agenda, and obviously, we just have a partnership with Coinomi. I don't know if you.
Yes, I saw that.
It's amazing. So there is so many things going in parallel that it's gonna, it's gonna be too long to list them. And it's not that the one is more important than the other, but basically we are trying to make the project known. So a lot of effort is going into that as well.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, Telegram is growing exponentially, other social media as well. But I think it's still important to keep up with the work because, as I mentioned, volume is our business. Being known, have credibility and trust. So we are doing this also from a long-term perspective. The end of the ICO is just the beginning.
Sure.
Right? So everybody says we reached the soft cap quite unexpectedly and fast and recently. And then we say, people go like, oh, we should have a party. I'm like, guys, it's just beginning. Because now it's for real. There is no way back. So when we reach, hopefully, the hard cap, I'll be like, hey, you can have a half a day party, but now the real work starts because now we got to perform, because the more money you raise, it's fantastic. But at the same time, the pressure rises because we come forward. It's, it's our phase. Everything is on the line for us. So failure is not an option. And of course, we want to go beyond that. It's, for us, it's about how smooth, quick, and stable can we build an optimal amount of success and value for our people. Wow. And do it together with them.
Sure. Let me ask you another question that, again, I'm not looking for what we call proprietary information, but when you guys go to the exchanges and say, hey, we're LocalCoinSwap, again, you don't need to ask or answer specifically, but what information would they want from an ICO in order to be considered on their exchange? What's that process like?
Obviously, every one of them, like I said, there are around 300 exchanges. We listed around 160 of the top ones. So each one of them has a bit of a unique process, but in general, they want to know the project information, let's say similar to an ICO listing, right? Obviously, it will go a little bit deeper, what the vision is. They will hopefully read and see the white paper. Probably they will want us to digest it for them, for the pieces that they like to see most. And then, of course, it's about the technicalities, the token side of things, where we have to explain the workings of LCS, the crypto shares, the whole dividend process, and obviously the ERC20 compatibility makes it quite smooth so that, we don't have our own blockchain or whatnot. So these things, but you'll have to specify those things to be eligible, let's say. And then there is an evaluation process. They chew on it because in the end of the day, the exchanges want value and volume. So they look at the project from the value side, the business side, and then obviously the technical side, and see and evaluate if their users and traders have enough interest. And obviously the strength of our community and the sort of size will be also an important factor. And that's why we're very excited to keep it growing, and have people interested in it. And at the end of the day, it's also a matter of people and, talking and sort of having a good rapport and network. And, I'm pretty confident because in that aspect, we're quite ahead in schedule. So
that's great.
We're sort of trying to look what's optimal for us in our community, and obviously, have a reciprocal value for a potential exchange or exchanges that we will be listed upon.
That's great. Let's switch gears here a little bit. And when I interviewed Tom and Nathan, I asked this question at the beginning, but I thought maybe for Val. We'll do it maybe towards the end. So tell everybody a little about yourself, like growing up and maybe some of your college stuff. And did you just like fall out of bed one day and say, I'm interested in cryptocurrency?
Okay, that's gonna be a very long story. I'll give you like a very concise bullet point summary. So, I was born in the previous Soviet Republic of Georgia
Yes.
in '85. When I was 10, during the Civil War, my family moved to Belgium. So I spent my sort of childhood, young adolescence in Belgium. I started a bioengineering degree in biotechnology for my bachelor. During my studies, I went to Sweden for an exchange program. When I came back, I said, "Ooh, I don't know if I want to keep doing that because I don't want to be a lab rat. So, and I don't have billions or millions to do my own research." So I switched to agriculture and agriculture economics, which was quite a big jump, still within the bioengineering faculty. From there, I spent 3 or 4 months in Kenya working for the UN as an internship program or like special program that I initiated myself. I went to Arkansas for my master thesis. I spent 5 months there. I wanted to stay, actually. To be honest, in the beginning I didn't like it, but after a while I wanted to stay. It didn't work out. I came back. I took a job. So back then I finished my master's and was a full-fledged bioengineer. I took a job in Paris as a business development manager for a consulting firm where I traveled between Belgium, Netherlands, and France. So in Paris, didn't like it so much. I mean, the company was great. I just didn't like the corporate structure. I
Sure.
couldn't understand that, they want me to be squeezed out for 15, 20 years so that then I can squeeze other people. And that's literally what I told my boss when I asked to resign. So, I mean, it's fine. I don't criticize other people, but even like after 4 months, I knew this is not for me. So I prepared a PhD proposal in the evenings, submitted for independent funding. Wonder by wonder, I got it. And then I started sort of, I had my own funding. The professors were happy, and I started my research in commodity futures markets.
Wow.
Went to Ghana-Champaign as a visiting scholar. And that's where the story starts. This is 2010, early 2011. So what happens? Satoshi Nakamoto's paper is circulating in 2009. Bitcoin is out. Of course, my research is about pricing, commodity markets, futures, how you can sell something you don't have. So there is already some concept of conceptual economics, I call it. Obviously, I devoured the paper immediately, and I thought, this is going to be something.
Wow.
So, yeah, and honestly, at that time, I was not, you remember the first days, I don't know if you remember, but accessing coins and buying them, it was very sort of, for a certain niche, even more than now, like a very niche group of people. So I thought like that's too much of a transaction cost for me to do it. But I said, this is something to keep an eye on. So I did. Things moved on. I started a company because in academia, after a few years in, I realized it's probably also not for me. So I started my company, Grow Break. It's all about design thinking and knowledge brokering. A lot of stuff happened. I spent a lot of time in South America as well. In 2015, came back to Belgium, decided to sort of settle, bought an office space, renovated, and then I kind of rekindled with my now better half, my wife.
Oh.
So thing 4 days before my ticket to Australia, and I'm now in Australia for a year. Obviously, I still go back. My company is still active, so I still have sort of one foot in Europe, in Belgium,
Yes.
and another here. But I spend most of my time in Australia these days, and that's how I also came across the guys. Of course, I jump a bit because from Bitcoin, we had Ethereum coming out. That was another thing, and I never regret to not buying Bitcoin because, it was not too much on my radar, but when Ether and Ethereum concept came out, I thought, this is it. That sort of second level of blockchain development where you can build on top of it instead of just exchange value. And there I do sort of chastise myself just a little bit for not making extra effort to buy it because I really understood it. I was into it. This was like, I think, when I noticed this 2012.
Wow.
I made even, and I told, I have a horrible memory and I make notes for everything and reminders, but I didn't do for that. I still have some links about Ethereum and the initial project. And then but that's life. And then last year, a friend of mine who is a journalist, she asked me, "Hey Val, like what's going on with all this stuff? You know, it was like just starting to bubble up, 2017." And she knew I was also, familiar with these things, and of course, I delved in deeper because she wanted to do maybe an interview or write a story about it. And then I just got hooked, and I didn't go back. So
Wow.
I did some work with some people as an advisor. I met the team in parallel, like at end of last year. Start talking with them, and like before you know it, they call me and say, "Hey Val, we need help. You want to be on board?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course." And you know why? I know I answered very long, in a long way, but I wanted to be part of this team for two main reasons.
Hmm.
The first, the ideological one, I told you, it's my wet dream. It's like I've been like ask my friends. I've been preaching, complaining, like nagging about why don't we have basic income, why don't we have direct democracy, etc. And suddenly we have this project that, for me, encapsulates all these sort of core values: crowdsourcing,
Sure.
inclusiveness. And other side, the guys, like the team is amazing. Like I like them as a person, but from a business professional view, like Nathan and the rest, they're like workhorses. Like they will keep on going. They're like bulldozers. If need be, they work 18 hours a day. And I thought it would be a pleasure to be a part of this team because I like to work where failure is not an option,
Sure.
especially if you work with external investors. So yeah, that's in a big nutshell the story.
Okay, well, let me ask you one last question. And again, during the pre-interview, I ask Tom this and Nathan, I ask everybody that I do an interview with. So is there anything that maybe I forgot to ask you or I didn't ask you and you're thinking, oh, I want to say one more thing about local coin swap or I want to say one more thing about whatever. Is there anything that's on your heart or your mind where you're like, I want to say one more
I'm
thing?
just talking. I don't know. I just wanted to ask you, is there more you want to ask me, tell me, and then you give me the floor back. But I think I would like to sort of reiterate two things: that my respect and trust in my team, and unlike Tom, Nathan, and Daniel, and some other guys, I'm relatively new to them. So, it's not that they're my childhood friends. So I really would like, obviously everybody does things differently. Some things I would like to do different, but not. But overall, it's like for me, it's fantastic to be able to work with guys like that. It's truly unbelievable. Like at the end of the day, I 12 o'clock, wife is a bit cranky because I've been on Telegram all day or doing stuff. But you feel like you contributed, you're part of something
Yeah.
bigger and more interesting. And the other part is, the other thing that I want to mention is it's kind of similar. It's about our community. The community for me, it's sort of the ideology and the team came together and gave birth to this something that I didn't expect to happen. I kind of starting to fall in love with our community. They're amazing. Like it takes an incredible amount of effort, and to be honest, I do get quite some compliments about like how I treat questions and whatnot. But it's because I'm into it. People people even who are grumpy or, they give us the time to ask a question. They give us the attention. And that's incredible. And, the initiatives I mentioned before, it's quite amazing how much sort of energy it gives back to you, that you feel not only appreciated, but you feel like we're all in this together.
Yeah.
And suddenly these big loads and stress becomes much lighter and it becomes fun. And that's why I go to bed. I'm normally a bad sleeper, but lately I sleep much better because of the team and the general community, like all of you guys, basically.
Well, that's great. I told someone, actually, he was a gentleman, he was an older man, he was 55 from Australia a couple days ago. I said, I can hardly wait to get to bed every night to wake up tomorrow morning to find out what's going on in the crypto space. I'm not really a morning person, but I'm literally jumping out of bed going, what's going to go on today?
You know what I noticed yesterday? I noticed that for the last few weeks, I obviously, I don't know if it's obvious, but I have somewhat a portfolio in the cryptocurrencies. The last few weeks, I haven't checked it. Not only not the first thing in the morning, but only maybe once a day or not at all. the first thing I check now is the Telegram.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Like, and I caught myself, and I'm like, what happened? And then I'm looking at the, what happened at night, because it's always on. The guys are in different time zones, so there's always activity, which is great. But then I need to make sure all the questions are answered. That, I'm also curious what happened. I want to know who are new members, what kind of questions came about. And I caught myself, and I thought, what about your investment? The markets are down, and it was like, yeah, whatever, it will be fine. Like, this is my thing now. Like, it's like it became like my baby. Like, I really care.
Yeah.
And I think the whole team really does, and I think people sense that.
Yeah.
And have a really, I think that we really have a nice warm vibe in the group.
Yeah. Well, that really came across with my interview with Tom. Again, fine young guy. Again, he could be my son. You could be my son. And then, Nathan's interview, a little different, but again, I heard the passion. I heard the excitement. I heard the all out. And again, without being phony, I'm hearing the same thing from you. It's like, let's go, let's get the job done, and I'm having fun in the midst of it,
Yeah, and I think that's our, obviously this project is great, blockchain cryptos are great, but the core drive is like to make it happen and show that it is possible. That sort of shared community way, sharing value, activating people. Be nice and have fun, and I think that's something that for me personally, and I think for most of the team, if not all of them, it gives an incredible amount of energy to say, okay, let's make it happen. And to be honest, like, I compliment the team a lot, but they're awesome. Like, I personally, I don't worry anymore about if it's going to be a success or not. Now it's about like how high of a success. Now it's about sort of the optimal, sort of the ideological values and make it happen. At least that's my personal opinion, And as a crypto shareholder and investor or owner, I think, I also evaluate it critically and consider certain things. So this is not just, again, like a positive look. It's more about, let's make it fantastic.
Yeah. No,
that's
that's
great.
great.
Let's show people what we can do, and let's do it together with our people, so to speak.
No, that's,
with you.
Yeah.
This is it. Like, this is the perfect example. We're doing it right now.
Yeah, well, I tell everybody that I interview from whatever company, I'm living my dream talking to smart guys like you. It's unbelievable,
And, and imagine we can do that like with 20, 30,000 people living their dream, having sort of maybe in the beginning residual income, but imagine if that income could replace their job income.
Yeah.
What a vibe would that be? In a way you have 20,000 minds and heads that are free to do what they want or contribute, and that's a bit crazy, right? Like, I think we understand it conceptually, but we don't really know. Like, we don't really know what it will be for real, and I think we want to find out.
Yeah.
Because it could be incredible.
Yeah. Well, Val, listen, let's wrap it up. I appreciate, again, it was a pleasure and an honor. Again, one of these days we're going to meet face to face, and everybody that's on my channel, I'm going to put all the links below. You work hard for your money. I work hard for mine. Val works hard for his. Take a look at LocalCoinSwap. I'm an investor, not an owner. I'm an investor. And Val, we'll definitely do it again, and thanks for coming on.
John, thanks so much. I did warn you about my lengthy answers.
No, it was awesome.
Do it again, and then we can talk more, and then you can shoot me some more questions, and I'll try to be a bit shorter, and let's do this as a regular thing. Let's discuss this later.
No,
and
I would.
You so much.
Yeah, I would enjoy that.
And thanks to be a part of this.
Okay, thanks, Val. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.